Bonjour tout le monde.
Good morning, everyone.
Hello.
Hello everyone.
Hi everyone.
Hello from Romania.
Kalimera.
Bonjour.
Hello everyone.
Tere hommikust kõikidele.
Heid mida falcha.
Herzlich willkommen.
Good morning everyone.
Hello everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
Servus die Madeln und Servus die Burm. This is a typical greeting from Austria. And with this, I want to give each and every one of you a warm welcome here in the European Parliament in Strasbourg.
This morning, when I entered this immensely impressive, world-famous plenary chamber, at first, I was overwhelmed by so many people being here and listening to my speech. But after a while, I felt that the European Union gave me a very welcoming feeling.
We will enjoy collaborating and discussing with you today, and we can't wait to have a day in the name of democracy.
Mit all den erwähnten Vorteilen haben wir als europäische Bürger aber auch eine Verantwortung.
We have advantages being Europeans, but also responsibilities. We shouldn't ask what Europe can do for us, but rather what we can do for Europe. Thank you very much.
I'm
a member of this parliament from Germany. I come from Stuttgart. I'm one of 14 current vice presidents in the parliament. I've been here since 1997 and have been here time and time again, each time re-elected. Back in my real life, I was a lawyer and am still a qualified lawyer, but now do this. Yes, I come from Germany, and I'd very much like to ask what you think about the rise of right-wing parties or far right-wing parties in all European states, and how you think we can fight against that. I might perhaps formulate the question slightly differently or answer it in a particular way. The more things go either to the right or to the left, the more populist things become, then the more difficult they become. We've got left-wing populism as well. Right now, at this very moment, we have more of a problem with the right-wing populist, and not everyone who's to the right is a populist. Not everyone who is a populist is to the right. Populism is a problem. A general social problem, I think we could even say, thanks to or because of the new type of media we have, the algorithms that we are faced with. Everyone is moving around more and more in a bubble. Everyone, well, not everyone, but many people are being told, you're right. And most people think the way you think. But then to the other one, they're saying, you're right as well. And most people think the way you do as well. So everyone thinks that what they think is what's right. And so we're seeing that two different people who are completely convinced in their own ideas are hitting each other in a more, in a harder way than in the past. And so it's not really an easy task what you suggest. Populism. George Bernard Shaw said that for every complicated problem, there is a simple solution. And it's generally the wrong one. That's what he said, Mr. Shaw. Complex problems cannot be solved by easy answers. We need to talk to people and not look for the simple solution. This is a common task, and it's not really a question of right-wing or left-wing. If you look at the history of our continent, the far left and the far right have actually created a lot of pain for humanity. So that's why here in this house we should remain and try to move in the center, or at least that would be my recommendation, that we try to move in the center.
Hi, I'm Sinead from Ireland. My question is, if peace is the most important thing, according to Jean-Claude Juncker, how will the EU protect the peace in Northern Ireland?
Also der Frieden ist wichtig.
Indeed, peace is important. But there are very few things that one can actually say as an absolute value. But we here in the European Parliament have always said that we don't want there to be a new actual physical border between Ireland and Northern Ireland. And if that were to happen, then there's a great danger that the old conflict might rise up again. And the European Parliament has taken that position and defended it to 75% of its members. That's still our position, and member states are very concerned about the Northern Irish problem. But it's not simple, and I can't offer a simple solution either. Ireland, however, is, for us, together with the Europeans who live in England and the English who live in Europe, along with all those issues, Ireland is right there, very close to the top of our list of priorities.
I'm from Cyprus, my name is Alex, and I want to ask about the climate change. My country, I believe, is not active enough for the climate change that we have. So how we're going to use those money to improve those issues that we are facing nowadays?
Also Europa bemüht sich, Europa gibt Ziele vor. Europa selber hat gar nicht so arg viel Geld.
Europe does set itself a certain amount of objectives, but it's not sort of flowing with cash or money. But I think it's certainly a responsibility incumbent on member states to actually achieve these objectives. I think we're talking about 160, 180 billion being spent annually. For the whole of Europe, it's less. It's a half or a third of what the federal government has in terms of federal budget. So I think we're going to have to try and sort of release resources, somehow free up resources, but I think member states are certainly going to have to up their contribution. But I think the objectives we've set ourselves are ambitious, but I think we also need to realize that Europe will not be able to do it alone. We will not be able to save the world as of fighting in our own small corner here in Europe if others are not prepared to play. Now, my brother lives in Cyprus, in fact, in Limassol, so I do know Cyprus a little bit. But as far as Germany is concerned, we're responsible for 2% of the world's sort of global CO2 emissions. I mean, we're only 1% of the population, so we can certainly do better. But if we were to be zero emission country, CO2 emission country, then I think we'd have to reduce that figure by some 2%. So Germany and Europe won't be able to go it alone either, or really sort of make the difference.
We think that there should be more recycling, and recycling should be better, and Europe should be encouraging every country to recycle. We also think that an important part of reducing waste is reducing the production of plastic. Then there are a couple of incentives we would like Europe to make. One of them is make public transport cheaper so that more people will be more likely to take public transport instead of their cars. So that's better for the environment. And then also a very popular idea was tax returns for recycling. If you bring in plastic bottles or plastic of any kind or anything of trash that could be recycled, you should get tax returns because people get money and they'll be more likely to clean up the earth. And then the third point was education, where research and development was a very big topic. One of the suggestions was that 5% of the income of companies should go to research and development so that they can evolve and make more ecological products and thus reducing the impact they make on the climate. It's also needed. It's also necessary to have a transition period for this. Otherwise, companies would go bankrupt. So there should be a transition period, but not too long.
Concerning security, we talked about GDPR, which stands for General Data Protection Regulation, protecting people's online data and ensuring that their explicit right to protection of personal data mentioned in Article 8 of the EU Charter of Fundamental Rights. We also emphasized on embracing the motto of the EU, United in Diversity, as we all agreed on the fact that discrimination or racism in any kind of or form is not acceptable anywhere near the EU.
Well, I feel as though you kind of brushed over the point of control of freedom of speech and hate speech. How exactly are you going to enforce it? Are you going to implement stronger punishments, or what exactly do you wish to do with that point, and how are you going to enforce it? Thank you.
So about hate speech, currently there's a lot of hate speech, again, for example, for Muslim religion. And it's exactly not for the religion, but it's the terrorism. And since most terrorisms are represented by the Muslims, there are many hate speeches, example, on Twitter. And they should be taken down either by the government or by the organization that hosts where the freedom of speech is given. Twitter and anonymous websites have freedom of speech, but those freedom of speech can hurt people. So the government should control at least a bit of it so they can reassure that nobody gets hurt, no drama causes in countries, and no war escalates quickly. Because if I say something online, it can make a big impact on a country and it can start another war.
First of all, I would like to start with what we came up is that we can't stop them. We can't stop young adults using these substances, but we have some solutions how to minimize the alcohol and drug use. First of all, I would like to start with the first idea was creating centers and safe places where young adults could talk about their struggles, since one of the reasons for the use of these substances are not knowing how to deal with problems, how to solve them, and having mental support is really important, especially for teenagers, since they are growing and they're trying to fit into the society. Second of all, I would like to say that our idea is education. In schools, young adults should be taught about consequences of the alcohol and drug use, and also the limits and how to use, because it's really important. If you use, you have to know how, you have to know the consequences. The third one was banning advertisements. For example, on cigarette packages, there are a lot of I wouldn't say explicit, but controversial images, and we would like to ban the advertisements since scaring isn't the way to stop anything. And fourth of all, rehab instead of punishment. We would like to, cannabis should be legalized and decriminalized. Because if it's decriminalized, there wouldn't be any punishment. It would be treated, the drug use, it would be treated like a sickness, and the person would be sent to rehab, and it would be like a friendly way to solve this problem.
Our committee decided to base his ideas on 3 feasible proposals: greater cooperation for environment, common standards and rules, but also punishments for states that are not complying with set requirements. This goes through rewards for states applying those rules, because we need to also reward the persons that are following the rules in a group. But also we must impose mandatory English as a second language, because our people needs to have a language, a simple language that they can understand between themselves. And we can also reassert this desire to impose this language through the creation of institutions, the Institution for Foreign Languages, providing common guidelines and standards of learning skills and speaking skills, but also materials for school, mandatory also English course for all Europeans. And last but not least, accessible polls in Europe for all voters, but also common voting age of 18 years old, and also a bigger duration of the European election, because the European election is not only a simple referendum about our leaders, it is also a completely new election that is representing the vote for our representative, but on an international scale, and the voice of European Union counts as much as our national voice counts. And this is through this committee that we will bring such changes, and I intend to answer all of the questions as Jean-Claude Juncker said, long live Europe. Thank you.
We thought that it was really important for us to teach the immigrants of their new country's values and language and rights, laws, and that they should really be living among everybody else and not separated somewhere else, because that would really further fasten the integration process. And in the integration, we should also factor in the mental health of the immigrants. If they have some past trauma, which could be the reason why they're searching for immigrant status in the first place, we should offer cure and help for them. And we should also factor in their willingness to provide to their new society in their new country. But a really good way for us to help them integrate would be through school and education. We could perhaps have like integration teachers who would run the immigrants through a educational program which would help them learn more about the country, and after which the immigrants will be led to a regular school, which will fasten the integration process because they get to interact with the people of the country that they're integrating to. And also we think it's really important that the people living in the country put effort into the integration and that they're open and welcome the people immigrating into their country. Thank you.
In our group, we were able to create 2 innovative ideas which would hopefully help young people to find a job or potentially get employed. The first one is to make labor from young people cheaper and more attractive to employers by ensuring that half of the wage earned is paid for by the government of the country in question, along with the EU. And the other half will be paid by the company, majorly bringing down the cost of youth employment. The wage paid by the government and EU will be funded by a pollution tax. And the second one is to offer job opportunities via an apprenticeship by having schools and employers cooperate together while receiving funding for it by the EU. The apprenticeships could be held in your home country, or it could be held overseas, and we hope to spread apprentice and internships to other European countries as well.